Hello and welcome back to The Voice Within. Today we're going to talk about confidence. I remember when I started my blog 5 or 6 years back, I was just new mom, stay-at-home mom. I felt very, gray. I felt like I didn't had nothing to do. Before I became mom, I was cabin crew. Before that, I was store manager in Zara. I was working in the real estate. I had a lot of jobs. I was changing my jobs a lot because of the situation in Bosnia where it's very hard to keep the job. It's very hard to find a stable job. So I was changing them a lot, but I had always some occupation. I always was earning and hustling. And then I became mom. I'm in the house. I don't have nothing to do. And I just couldn't stay still. So I decided I will create the blog. I didn't know nothing about blogging. I didn't know nothing about how to create the blog in the first place. I didn't know that there is self-hosted blogs, that there is blogs hosted on other platforms. And I started researching about it. I started learning about it, going on the YouTube, understanding how to create the blog, what would be option for me. I just wanted to write. I wanted to talk about motherhood, about diapers and all of the things which were center of my attention at that time. I wanted to connect with other moms who were in similar situation. At that time, we were living in Qatar. We were away from the family. We were expats. And I was really craving the connection of moms to connect with somebody who was sharing that heavy experience of motherhood, especially on the beginning when we just became moms. So saying that, I took a great time to create blog. I learned how to host it. I learned how to do the coding. I was creating it in the WordPress, in the Squarespace. Couple of the time I completely deleted my page and created from the scratch. And for somebody who doesn't know nothing about it, this can look very simple. But to create whole page from the scratch, from the beginning, and learn it by yourself while you're breastfeeding the child and trying to understand how to do the things which you didn't do ever in your life is such an amount of evidence for your confidence. It just builds you up in a different way. And then after I created blog, I was blogging for some time just for my soul, like a hobby, connecting with some moms over my blog on my Instagram page. Then from there, I decided I will delete my blog and I will make a podcast because I came to realize that a lot of moms, they don't have time to read. They are always busy and it would be easier for them to listen instead of read. And at that time, I was kind of shifting even the things I was talking about. Now I was talking a bit less about diapers and breastfeeding. I started going into personal development journey and I started sharing more about parenting and how to parent our children and what is my point of view on that. And this is how actually everything built up. But when I look back on that beginning, if I didn't make those steps, if I didn't create evidences that I am able to show myself, to step up, to show what I can do, what I can create with my own hands, I wouldn't have confidence around it. Once I created the blog and once I deleted my page and finished my subscription on my domain, then going into the podcast was like way easier. I already had confidence. Now the next step, the next stretch which I was making was actually buying the microphone and speaking and letting my voice into the world. This is quite different because when I would sit and write something, I was still hidden behind the screen. I could shape my words the way I want. I could go on the Google Translate and find the words. But now I was stepping up into the realness, into the rawness of showing really what I can do with my voice. And this was stretching me in a different direction. Now I was building up the confidence around something new. Then on the beginning I started in the Bosnian language because I wanted to connect with the community back home. As I'm living in Bahrain right now, we moved from Qatar to Bahrain. I was always craving that connection with the moms from my country, from my roots. So I was doing it in Bosnian language. On the beginning, it was very hard. I was writing the notes. I was terrified to speak. And it's so weird because there is nobody while I'm recording this podcast. There is nobody around me. It's just me sitting with a microphone and talking. But at that time, I felt like there is thousands of people sitting and looking at me while I'm talking. So it took time and practice for me to build up my confidence, to be able to talk into microphone, to speak up my mind to say what I have to say, what I want to say, to share it to the world, and believing in myself in that way. Then after some time, I noticed that I was just boxing myself in the Bosnian language, hiding myself from local community, from Bahrain, and generally from the world by speaking in Bosnian language. Because as long as I'm in Bosnian language, I'm just available to the small community. And at the same time, while I was living in Bahrain, algorithms were not helping me to be discovered that much in Bosnia because I'm not based there. So I was like hiding myself the same way I was hiding myself behind the screen while I had the blog. Then I decided I will transfer my podcast into the English language and I will start sharing my things and my understanding and my processes in the English language. And at the beginning, it was the same tension that I had when I started it in the first place. Now I'm speaking in different language. I'm trying to find the words which used to feel natural to me while I was speaking in Bosnian. Now suddenly I feel like lack of confidence to speak in English language, to express myself the way I was expressing myself in Bosnian, because in Bosnian I already built up confidence. And the process again was complicated. I was writing the notes, I was outlining my podcast episode, I was reading some of the stuff, I was preparing ahead, I was rehearsing it in the mirror before I would record it. And as crazy as it sounds, like, why would you do that? Why would you do that in the first place, recording something and letting it in the world and spending so much time to mastering it to become better? But for me, even then, even now, stretching my capacity, stretching my edges is something which I kind of grew to become addicted, to see what am I made of? What can I make? What can I do? Where can I stretch myself more? How can I build up myself more? And I'm doing that by putting myself in the fire, by putting myself in the situations to do something which I never did and building up my confidence by doing it. So we often think that the confidence is something that the people are born with. It's just the way they are. From my understanding, before all understanding that I have now, I used to think that confidence is when the people come in the room and they have straight posture and they speak up their mind and they are so confident in the way they show up. And I was always thinking that this coming from the way they are raised, the way that they grew up. And while there is true in this, there is also fact that it's not about what their parents were telling them about themselves. It's about what their parents were kind of pushing them to do and to become in order to build up the confidence. It's like when you look into your child when they are in the park and now they need to climb some obstacle or some bridge in the park and they are so terrified to do it. They are small and you standing there next to them and you telling them, you can do it, mama is here, I'm holding your hand. And at the beginning it's very shaky and they are terrified and you holding them and they want to stop. But you have understanding that if they pass that obstacle just first time, they will be more confident to do it second time. So you holding them, you encouraging them to do it because you know that through that tension, through that discomfort, they will build the confidence. And basically this is how those people that I used to look at having confidence, this is how they were built up. Their parents were exposing them to discomfort in order to build up their self-esteem, in order to build up their confidence. Confidence is not something that we just wake up with, something that we are just born with. It's something that is built up and it starts in a way that our parents shaped our understanding of ourselves. So saying that, does that mean that if our parents didn't build it up in us, that we cannot do nothing about it? And this is what I used to think. I used to think if my parents didn't build up these traits in me, if they didn't push me in that way to build up the confidence, then there is nothing I can do about it. I was just not raised that way and I was unlucky one. But then I started exploring, is this really truth or is this just conditioning in my head? I started looking back on my life, in my past, what things did I do? Where is the evidences of my confidence in the things I used to do before? I started looking in the way I was getting the jobs very quickly, in the way I was capable of supporting myself at very young age, in the way I was studying, in the way I was capable in my job environment. I started actually looking and searching for the evidence that would support me having confidence. And if we all look back in our life, we will see a lot of those evidences. We often say, I don't have confidence, I don't have self-respect, I don't love myself that much, I don't do this, I don't do that. But we never actually look back in our life, in our past, and like with awareness recognize the places where we actually have those things. But we just kind of learn to minimize them, because if they are not continuously present in our life, then it's like it doesn't matter what happened in the past. If we did 10 things properly and one thing we didn't do it correctly, we just focus on that one thing and we forgot 10 things which were evidence for our confidence. We more focus on the mistakes we are making instead of the lessons we are gaining from that mistakes, and at the same time the attempts that we made that building up our confidence. So saying that, we cannot say that the confidence is something that we just wake up with. It's not some gift that our parents gave us. It's not even something which is like personality based. The confidence is purely a result of the evidence. It comes from witnessing ourselves keeping our word, like stepping up for the promise we gave to ourselves. It's like when you have somebody in your life who is trustworthy person, and when you would look in that person, why you trust them is because they gave you so much evidences to trust them. They keep up their word, they show up on time, they did what they said they're gonna do, they followed through. So you trust to that person, you trust them that what they say they're gonna do it, because they created enough evidences for you to trust them. So if we look in our own confidence, we could say that confidence is like stacking of the proof for ourselves that we can do the things which we promise to ourselves. And by doing that, we become confident in ourselves. And we often think that those small things where we betray ourselves are not so much important. We all do it. I do it. I'm trying to correct it as much as I can. But it's those little moments where we say, okay, tomorrow I will wake up in the morning and I will, read the book, or I will do a little yoga in the house, or I will go for the walk. But then we don't do it. Or we say we will speak up, we will set boundaries next time, then we don't do it. Or we say we will stop apologizing for everything, for our choices, and then we apologize again. So what we do, we focus on these mistakes. We focus on the moments where we didn't show up, instead of focusing on every moment where we did, correcting ourselves over and over again, and gaining towards building the confidence instead of searching for the lack of it. And if we would take all of these examples, if we would say that one day we're going to wake up and we do. We say we're going to protect ourselves, we do. We say we're going to stop apologizing for everything, and we do. Can you feel it? What kind of confidence would build up in yourself when you would follow through every promise you give to yourself? Every time you do what you say you're gonna do, even in those small ways, even in those micro decisions, your confidence in yourself grows. That's why the confidence is just purely the result of evidence. And what happened is that the most of the people wait for confidence before they act. Like when we want to do something and then we say, well, I'm not confident enough to do it. If I would take example of my blog and my podcast, would be, I cannot create blog because I'm not confident in doing that. I cannot create podcast because I don't know how to do it. And we stop ourselves even before we try. We often think that confidence is what makes action possible. In order for me to make that action, I have to have confidence. But the action is what makes confidence real. Confidence comes after the action. Action with the fear, with tension, with being terrified has to happen for us to build the confidence around something. And at the same time, we have to understand that when we make actions first time or second time or third time, there is possibility of mistake. The same way that child is going over that obstacle in the park, they will make mistakes while they're walking. You're gonna hold your child's hand. Maybe a few times they're gonna fall down. Or if they're walking on that net, like, you know how is it in the parks, the net that they make for the kids, and then their leg goes through it. Their leg will go through it a lot of times before they learn that they need to step in the middle of net where the nets are connected, so their leg doesn't go through it. The same thing goes for us. We have to understand that when we are making first actions, when we are trying to build up the confidence, there will be mistakes. And we need to stop focusing on those mistakes and start honoring the attempts that we are making towards building up the confidence. And if you look back into your life and start thinking about those moments where you didn't feel ready, but you actually did it anyway. When you think about it, you will for sure see how that changed the whole story you have about yourself in your mind. If you would really find some examples in your life where you were terrified from something, but you acted anyway, how you felt after it. You felt confident about doing it. If you were put in the situation where you would have to do that thing again, you would feel more at ease with the less tension of doing it again. So where is the problem? Why is it so hard for us to build the confidence when we have this understanding? It's hard because we have self-doubt. Self-doubt is not always about fear of failure. It's not like that we are always afraid, okay, I'm not going to do this because I will make mistake. Sometimes the self-doubt is just the memory or disappointment about all of those times we made the promise to ourselves and we didn't follow through. We go back in our head and we think, oh, remember last time when you promised yourself that you're gonna do this, you didn't do it. So in order to protect yourself from disappointment or self-doubt, better I don't do it immediately and give up on it immediately before I try to do it and then I fail and then I feel bad about myself. So rather let me not do nothing. Rather let me not build up my confidence. Those little moments where we say, I'll start tomorrow, or this time will be different, I'm not going to do it anymore, I just need to feel better first. Those unfinished cycles of promises, they shape our identity more than we realize. Now we can feel guilty. Now we can feel guilty like, oh my God, so many times in my life I betrayed myself. So many times I didn't follow through. So many times I promised myself I'm going to do something and I didn't do it. But it's not about guilt. It's about inner integrity. Like how we live in integrity inside of us. Integrity is like mechanical. When you do what you say, your system stabilizes. And when you don't, it cracks. And like previous podcast episode, I was talking about resentment. This is how resentment builds up. When we don't do what we promise ourselves we're gonna do, that cracks happen and then we feel bad about ourselves. The self-doubt creeps in. But the more we follow through with the promises we give to ourselves, less we feel that cracks and more confidence and evidence of confidence builds up. When you start building the confidence, it feels like safety system for your nervous system. It's like I trust myself to move even when I'm terrified, even when I'm in fear, because I know that the more I'm doing it, I'm going to build confidence around it. I'm going to build enough evidence which will support my confidence for every new attempt. So how can we actually start building our confidence immediately? How can we start working on this immediately? Does that mean that you need to build up your podcast like me to build up your confidence? No, it starts in those micro decisions. Pick one thing you say you're going to do it. Pick one thing you said to yourself you're going to do it today and finish it. Let that be your priority for today, no matter what, that you're going to finish it. Not because that thing will be life alternating and life changing for you, but because it's a proof, it's a small evidence that you create that you can trust yourself. Don't wait to have a belief, are you able to do it? Don't wait for circumstances in your life to align for you to be able to do it. You create the circumstances so you can do it. Clear up your time, put the TV to your kids, do whatever is necessary to do that thing that you promised to yourself. In this way, you build the evidence. And when you build evidence, the byproduct of evidence is the confidence. And every evidence that you create in those small micro decisions is message to yourself that you can trust yourself. when you decide to be consistent on something, when you become like obsessed and addicted on follow through with your promises, the promises you give to yourself, then you become like literally unstoppable. Those silent evidences that no one else sees, no one else knows about it, but you do. And because you do, your self-esteem, your self-trust, and your confidence grows silently. Nobody sees it at the beginning, but over the time, your energy starts transmitting it. The way you hold yourself, the way you speak, the way you shape your words, the way your posture looks like, the way you move in the world change, because you build enough self-trust and enough confidence that all of that now becomes your reality and other people feel it. And when other people start feeling it, they start behaving differently with you. That will be it for this podcast episode. Until the next week, I wish you a beautiful rest of the day. Bye.